we understand that if we were planting corn on corn, that we had to be more proactive with some of our diseases up front. And northern corn leaf blight in Georgia is a big problem, especially where it's corn on corn. So we do a good job of trying to minimize litter. We do a good job of providing nutrients to, provide energy to the micronutrients so they can break down that fodder, but we still have the potential for northern corn leaf blight to fire from the bottom up. So we start being proactive. We make sure that we use fungicides in a proactive approach instead of a reactive approach. Because if that plant tells you something visually, whether it's nitrogen deprivation or drought or something like that, that yield loss is irrevocable, and you don't get it back. And if it does it with a tissue sample, once you understand what the levels that must be attained, you don't get that yield loss back. So we're real proactive. We use tissue samples throughout the year, but we use the understanding of what our rotation is and what our pressures are on our farm. And we use fungicides early. We understand that they decrease ethylene, and that's a great way. In the South with hot temperatures, everybody always says, well, how did he do it in Georgia? It's hot temperatures, hot nighttime temperatures. So we have irrigation. We are able to cool the plants down at night. We also use the fungicides to help us do that as well as to mitigate the stress, that the plant, may express through northern corn leaf blight or southern leaf blight that can be quite often common. Then we get to the laborious task of grain field. And for us, it's always a struggle. It's not a matter of if we're going to get, southern rust. Southern rust is our debilitating disease by far. It's a matter of when are we going to get it and how bad is it going to be? And then how many times will we have to spray it? We also understand, what research has taught us and what the labels say and what the chemical reps tell us on efficacy of applying these fungicides. If they've got a shelf life of 21 days of efficacy, then we're understanding that we need to be in the field making sure that we're overlapping the treatments, or we're seeing if the pressure is there to merit the treatment. So we're doing that as well. But then we spray southern rust at least 1 to 2 applications, sometimes more if necessary. And it just depends on the disease. And the one good thing is we're looking at, obviously ROI with this. We're looking at disease management. Sometimes we get better than 3-week control. Sometimes we get 10 to 14 days. Just depends on what the pressure is. So we're looking at it as a full system approach, understanding that, not all yield is just about I planted X amount of plants and we hope for the best. I'm a guy that likes to know what he's doing, not hope that he's going to be successful. I like to make sure that I do everything I can to make sure all those boxes are checked. Because if we have 700 bushel potential, like they tell us, I envision all year in a big giant calculator, 700. Okay, we can never hit positive. We can never hit plus. Never add to that potential if that is our potential. And that's how we get from 700 to 200 what we capture on the farm, or as a nation 171. So at some point something's hitting that minus button. What are those things that I can take away? What are the stresses that I can affect myself in alleviating? And one of the biggest things that, I was just in Minnesota last week speaking to some farmers up there at 6 different events, and I asked them, USDA says they're living in the Garden of Eden. They say that they're going to have a bumper crop. And I ask them, okay, what do you think it is that's going to give you this bumper crop that you're projecting? And they say, we've had some really good weather. Well, weather plays a role, there's no doubt about it. And there's things there that we can't control. We can't control a windstorm, we can't control a hailstorm, we can't control too much rain or not enough rain. But what I was hoping to hear them say was that we took and we've done X amount of experiments with replicated trials. We saw that these things paid. We implemented them again this year because we've done the work to make sure that they paid. We validated what the companies that are telling us what they say works, and we implemented it, and now weather is complimenting us. And that's why we're going to maximize these yields. Quite often, weather is always blamed for good things and bad. And sometimes there's a little more to it, and that's one thing we do on our farm, is make sure we check the boxes of things that we can control.